Well, let me ask you something. If you had the results of the election in hand, would you really know what to buy or sell? Making that call is a lot harder than you think, and it's why I started the show with a list of stocks that can thrive no matter who wins, because they have no natural opponents in Washington. But when it comes to many stocks that seem obvious for one candidate or another, there's a yin and a yang dynamic that doesn't get enough attention. Take Apple. Now, we know that the Biden Justice Department is no friend of Apple. If anything, they seem aggrieved by Apple's level of dominance and what it's done to stay at the top of the cell phone business. As Attorney General Merrick Garland said, and I quote, Apple has maintained monopoly power in the smartphone market, not simply by staying ahead of the competition on the merits, but by violating federal antitrust law. End quote. Pretty ominous. So should you sell Apple if Harris gets elected? Not so fast. First off, Apple fell to 171 when the Justice Department started gunning for them. Now the stock's in the 220s. Not so bad. Second, even if you're worried that Harris will stick with Biden's antitrust appointees, what makes you think the company would do better under Trump? Bank of America just published a terrific piece on Apple this morning titled, quote, Thinking Through Various Election Outcomes. End quote. They explain how Trump's proposal for a 20% tariff on all foreign-made goods would include Apple's goods. According to the analysts at Bank of America, if we get those tariffs and Apple doesn't raise prices to offset the damage, it could cost them 30 cents of earnings per share. Now, that is a meaningful hit for a company expected to earn $7 and change next year. It might cause downgrades. Sure, Apple could move its manufacturing from China to India or Malaysia or Vietnam, but they can't do that overnight. And it might not even matter if the tariff applies to all imports, right? So knowing that, how can you conclude that Trump's better for Apple than Harris? I love Apple. I say don't trade it. But it's impossible to know which candidate will do more damage, right, until we start hearing about cabinet appointments. Sometimes, by the way, it just doesn't matter either way. The Federal Trade Commission has it in for Amazon, to the point where I can see them breaking up the company if they rack up some wins in court. I honestly don't care if Amazon gets broken up. There are synergies to keeping these businesses together, though. But I bet Wall Street would just love a spinoff of Amazon Web Services, too. Great gross margins. Plus, like Apple, Amazon has been an incredibly strong stock during the Biden administration, despite the hostility from the FTC. A Trump FTC would definitely be more friendly. But don't forget, Trump hated Amazon when he was in office. He thought they were ripping off the post office and evading state sales taxes and putting traditional retailers out of business. There was tremendous scorn. Hey, how about the oils? Everybody always assumes Republican president will be much better than a Democrat for the oils, right? I mean, they're the drill baby drill party, and Trump personifies that. But that only means Trump's good for oil production. It doesn't necessarily mean he's good for the oil industry. In the first Trump term, there was so much drilling that prices cratered. The oils have done better under Biden, who seems to have real contempt for the industry. The Democrats have a very dim view of fossil fuels, so they make it harder to drill, which means less supply and thus higher prices. Semis? Okay, the Democrats have historically been champions of the semis, recognizing that a company like Intel is of national importance. The Republicans look at the federal subsidies and they go into Intel and they want to cut that spending. I can't recommend Intel here because I see no catalyst that could drive it higher, but I do think the stock has bottomed. In the end, this presidential prognostication game is meaningless until we start hearing about the cabinet appointments. Those will tell us a lot. That will figure out that we can figure out really who the winners and losers are. Right now, though, there are just too many political angles to every single stock story. I like to say there's always a bull market somewhere. I promise I'll find just for you right here on Mad Money. I'm Jim Cramer. Our election night coverage from the New York Stock Exchange starts now.
Don't miss a second of Mad Money. Follow @Jim Cramer on X. Have a question? Tweet Cramer. #MadMentions. Send Jim an email to madmoney@cnbc.com or give us a call at 1-800-743-CNBC. Miss something? Head to madmoney.cnbc.com.